Hi everyone, it's Matt from TheBrain, and as you can see by my screen, I am super excited to share with you a special pre-release introduction of TheBrain 15. We at TheBrain Technologies are super excited to share this new build with you. It is an all-new yet familiar user interface, but with a completely built from scratch hardened backend. I'm going to be focusing today a lot on the scalability, the stability, and the enhanced user experience that you're going to see when using TheBrain 15. Now, before we get started, I just want to share with you, this is a pre-release version. So there's still a few bugs that we're ironing out. Nothing serious. We wouldn't share that publicly otherwise. But there may be just a few issues with the software or features that we haven't quite ironed out yet. I want to share that with you so that it's probably a good idea to jump into TheBrain 14 and make a backup. That's never a bad idea. Make a BRZ, a brain archive backup of any brain that's important to you. I have fully rolled over into TheBrain 15. I'm using TheBrain 15 in all of my different brain databases now. It's absolutely fantastic and I highly recommend it, but that backup is always a good idea. So you can get started by visiting www.thebrain.com/thebrain15 and just scroll down on the page. You can download and install, even if 14 is already on your machine. You can only run one at a time. And as you can see, I am currently running, I should have had that up on the window for a better presentation. There it is, TheBrain 15. Let's make this full screen and let's dive right into some of the fantastic new features. Now, already right away, I'm seeing on the screen the hero icon over on the right. If you have a really nice image on your thought, you can turn on hero icons. Some of the small features that really enhance the application are some of the things that I'll be focused on today. But the first thing I am going to talk about is speed of the application. It all comes from that rebuilt backend. The Brain 15 technology didn't exist 5 years ago. The technology that we've built into the back end of the application now, we couldn't do what we're doing now. The web client of the software handles hundreds and thousands of people logging in to the application at one time. And we've honed down that technology, included it in the desktop application. And so you are really going to see the speed and performance, both in the Plex as you navigate through your brain, the speed of navigation and the loading of the content area over on the right is a significant improvement to the app, as well as jumping in and out of multiple different brain databases. I'll share that with you. So let's talk about the upper portion of the brain right now. I'm going to click on the plus tab that maybe you're familiar with to get back to, or it used to launch a new tab where you had access to your brains. Now we've got this quick drop down menu so I can quickly get back to a recent brain that I had open. Now, if you are a longtime user of TheBrain, you would know that it takes a minute to, not a minute, but it takes a few seconds for a brain database to open up. That is a thing of the past. You can see that I jumped right into this brain, and it's a pretty extensive brain. Last time I was here, I was working in the timeline, maybe running some reports. It takes me back to the exact location of that thought. And the time to jump in and out of brains is just a significant, wonderful feature of the application. So I'll jump into another brain really quickly, and you can see it just loads up and I'm ready to go. There's no lag. There's no wait time between jumping in and out of different brains anymore. Another thing that you may have noticed is, number one, I can select from this drop-down menu of recently accessed brains, or I can go to my brain list. So I still have those favorite brains at the very top that I can quickly access to, or I can scroll down and find the specific brain that I'm looking for and load that up. The tabs up above also, another sort of behind the scenes feature that I want to share with you. the unused tabs are not eating up any system resources. So you can have multiple tabs open. And in the past, it was a common thing in support for us to say, oh, if you're seeing that the brain is a little bit slow as you're navigating, why don't you go ahead and close some of those other brain tabs that you have open? They're eating up some resources in the background. That's not the case anymore. So I can have multiple tabs open. I've got this beautiful icon. So if you are connected to different brain databases according to their thumbnail or the icon, you have a mini version of that appearing in the tab itself up above. So it's easily identifiable. And then finally, the next step that I want to share with you, hopefully you've already noticed it, is this immersive feel of the application, sort of our chameleon interface, if you will. So if I change the look and feel to the content area of this brain, and I'll just go ahead and do that now. I'll right click on the background, jump into my brain theme, and for my content area, maybe I'll make this a lighter color. I'll select something kind of fun, this portfolio. You can see it not only changes the content area, but the entire app itself. And that will change from brain to brain as you navigate, whether you're in light mode, dark mode. The entire application is going to adhere to that theme setting that you have for that particular brain. So that's a little bit about I'm getting sidetracked. The back end, I talk about the speed and performance that you're going to see. So startup, opening new brains, and navigating through the brain, jumping in and out of brains. The difference is, I'm not sure if we're technically saying tenfold, but you can certainly navigate through your different brain databases much faster than you ever have been able to in the past, and the resource efficiency behind that. So even with multiple brain databases opening up, you're not eating up a lot of system resources. Let's talk about what we call the clean slate approach to the application. Now, I'm not going to jump in and out of different interfaces right now, but what you're seeing here on my Windows device is exactly what you would see on a Mac OS. It's exactly what you're going to see when you log into the web client. It's going to be almost exactly what you see when you log into your mobile devices, a tablet, or an iPhone or Android device. And I say almost because I'm in a side-by-side view right now. You might be displaying over, under on an iPhone or what have you, but the same buttons are going to be easily accessible. We've streamlined all the different options for you as far as different features in the toolbars, and they are going to be identical across the board. And that's a huge behind the scenes improvement in the Brain application now as well, is that you're going to have that same user interface and that same user experience across multiple devices. So not only do we have to, or can we stop having presentations of here's what it looks like when you're on the desktop, here's what it looks like when you're on the cloud, here's what it looks like on your mobile devices. It's going to look the same across the board, but also new features as they come about are going to be easier to roll out, because when it works on one device, it's going to work on all devices. Just a wonderful new advancement in the back end of the application. So I shared with you the adaptive color screen and unified platforms. Let's start talking about, we talked about the quick access with the tabs, but also another sort of view, not just a viewing of different brains jumping in and out, but viewing of the brain itself. Let's jump into another brain and go to the home thought for this particular brain. And first and foremost, let's talk about the layout of the application. Now, again, I'm in a side-by-side view. I can still click on, right-click on the splitter bar between the two windows, place the Plex on top of the content area, or switch back at any time. I'll just right-click and keep that on the left. But we can also quickly get to our notes. We've got a long note that we need to read through. That bar that separates the content area from the Plex there's an easier way to sort of manipulate that. We can go to a content only view. We can jump back to our split view at any time. If we're really focused on the content of the Plex, we've got a button for that as well. So you can jump very quickly, once again, in and out of those different views, depending on what you're focusing on within the app. What's more than that, another viewing option that I really like is I'm going to go back into my, I'm in normal view right now. I'm going to jump over into outline view. I've always been a fan of outline view because it's a really nice way to get the big picture orientation of a project that you're working on or focused on. And we've really enhanced and smoothed out the capabilities of this particular view. So as you can see, anytime I click, it expands, that type of that content that I'm looking for. And I can even move the Plex around to really focus on another area. If I want to expand that, certainly can continue my expansion and really focus on different areas of the Plex with a sort of a large scale view. Where did all of this content come from in the structure of the Plex that I've put together? And of course, at any time, I can switch this over into mind map view or back into normal view. But just that smoothing of the animation really enhances the experience I feel, for that outline and mind map views. So we'll come back to normal view. And one more thing about the new layout of the options that you have up above is, of course, the search. The search now allows us to not only see our recent thoughts that we've activated from the search dropdown, but again, if I happen to do a search for, I'll do a search for the word Passat. I searched on that earlier, but as you can see, it doesn't find anything in this brain, but I can find where the word Passat is appearing in other brains. And when I click, once again, I get that nice quick response from the brain so I can quickly get to that specific thought. Now, this brings me to another feature that I really am excited to share with you because it's one that I am going to be using quite often in my different brain databases, and one that has been requested by you, the brain community, over the years. And that is something that we're calling a light sync. Now, what light sync means is when I add a file attachment to a thought and sync it up to the cloud, sometimes I want the file attachment to stay on the cloud, but I don't necessarily need it anymore on this device. Or if I'm syncing my brain between multiple different devices, yes, I opened up this. Now, this is only a 4 meg file. It's not that large, but regardless, I don't need this file on all of my different devices. I might, and I still have access to download it from the cloud, but with this light sync, when I add an attachment, and I added this attachment, I believe from another device and synced. And since Light Sync is on, it's never been downloaded. This 2001 user manual has never been downloaded to this machine. Of course, I still can get it. If I click, I'm going to download, and that downloaded very quickly. So now I do have a copy of this, but with that Light Sync turned on, and it is turned on by default, all of those attachments that I add from other devices, they're available to me on the cloud and available on demand on all my other devices that I'm syncing the brain to. And that is where that version 14.15, I guess I'll call it a conflict that I talked about earlier. You open a brain in 15, you're not automatically going to be able to download it in the brain 14. If you do want to roll back to 14, that's not a problem. I'm going to close my user manual here. And right next to the sync button in the upper right-hand corner of the brain is a drop-down menu, and I can turn off Light Sync. It's going to go through my brain, download all attachments, so they're all here. And when I open up this brain in version 14, there's no conflict of interest. The local documents or local attachments are all here. So therefore, when I close 15, open 14, I still have access to all of my attachments. With that Light Sync enabled, you would open 14 and it wouldn't know that there's supposed to be a file file attached there, it could cause some problems. So as long as that light sync is enabled in 15, if you've opened this brain, it won't open in 14. That's what you do to enable the back and forth, is simply disable light sync. Okay, so there are my sync improvements. Let's go back to just a few other ones actually on my list. Parallel syncing. So I'm not syncing a lot of brains. These are all in sync in the background. I have the brain open all day long. But if you do want to check out your sync status, maybe, oh, my brain box is currently syncing in the background. So any brain that you have open from time to time will sync in the background, especially if that brain is open in another device. So changes show up online, and your brain will sync here in the background as you're jumping in and out of the different brain databases. And I believe we can sync up to 8 different brains at one time. So you'll see the queue of active syncs, and you'll clearly be able to see when this brain was most recently synced. It's really great in a team brain environment to know if you've got the latest, greatest version that's been synced from the cloud. And I believe that wraps up all of the different sync features. I also wanted to share with you a couple of Plex improvements. Obviously, we have the smoother navigation that you'll see as you jump around between different thoughts. But there's 2 new Plex improvements that I'm super excited about. Let me get into an area of my brain where I might actually want to delete a thought. So here we go. I've got a brain with some past studies that I've done on this particular project. And the 2024 study, that was last year. We need to have a new study on this project that we're working on. So it's time to delete this thought. Now remember, in the brain 14, first you would forget a thought. Then you could go in and permanently delete it. In the brain 15, the same is true. There is that safety net. If I right click on a thought, I just see that I can forget that thought. But I can also hold down the shift key and notice that this context menu, many of the options change. So this allowed us the capabilities of shortening what is available to you in the context menu. I just press on that shift key and I've got many different options. Instead of opening this thought in a new tab, I shift and open a new window. Instead of copying the web thought URL, I shift and copy the local thought URL. And there you can see forget and delete, the 2 toggle back and forth. So little reminder down there at the bottom that shift is always available to you to see additional options in the context menu. And so if I do want to delete this thought, again, I'll right click and hold down the shift key, and now I can permanently delete that particular thought. Another option, or another feature, I should say, that has shown up is the ability to see when we have notes or filing attachments on our links. Now, this feature always existed as far as adding a note to a link or a file attachment. And here I'm talking about this on-site study that we're going to be doing at Arches National Park. And I'm talking about the different trail cams that we'll be checking in on. But the note that I have isn't specifically about trail cams. It's not specifically about our on-site study. It's specifically about the relationship between the two. Maybe who we're renting these trail cams from for this study. I don't want to leave this note on one thought or the other. So I'm just going to leave it right here. We'll be renting from You Rent Trail Cams. So I'll leave some additional information. I could even add a file attachment there if I'd like. But regardless, once I have that particular note, I have a note on one of these links between trail cams and on-site study. If I had an attachment, there would be a paperclip icon there as well. So you can very, very easily identify where you have left a note on a link between 2 thoughts, or an attachment between 2 thoughts in the brain 15 as well. All right, so I've navigated over to a different brain just so I can start with a clean, fresh calendar. And I'm going to create a new event. So I'll just click on the plus tab, and this is my September review. And today is fine. That's going to be happening today, not an all-day event. We're not going to get started on this until tonight at 5 p.m. Oh, I think I clicked the wrong button there, 5 p.m. And I will select a thought to attach this to. Maybe I'm going to attach this to my development tools. So there's development tools. That's going to be the event where this September review takes place. I'll go ahead and save that. And notice that my card shows up where I have my September review. I can click to go to the thought where we're going to be reviewing all of my development tools. And as this calendar grows, all of those different cards will show up for me to review everything that's happening this week, next week, everything that took place last week, and so forth. And of course, I can open those up to modify them further, change them into reoccurring events, and so forth. So we have a lot of new capabilities and features that we do want to incorporate into the calendar. So that's just a quick peek at what is going to be available. And let's spend some time up here on these buttons. We've already talked about the sync happening. We can still run reports. We've got many different reports that you can run, and you can pile these reports up on top of each other. I won't get into all of those right now. I've got a few to-do lists happening in this particular brain. But for now, let's go into our brain settings. So this is where we can get into that outline and mind map view. We can also change the text size depending on what our screen resolution is to find the text size that's working best for us. And brain settings, really quickly, I'll share with you. It's been restructured, so it's been streamlined to really take effect. All of the brain settings are happening on this specific brain. My user settings, anything I change there, will happen on all of the different brains that I happen to open. Brain theme, of course, is unique to this brain as well. But if you can't find what you're looking for, please draw your attention to the search box. Another one of my favorite features, because people would ask me from time to time, Matt, how do I customize my own icons, or how do I, add straight links to a thought? I knew it was in there, but I could never quite remember what tab it was on in the brain settings. All right, we want to change to straight links. I'll just type in the word links, because there's going to be some options. Here we go. Content settings. I can show mapped links, access and sharing, set up a web link for this particular brain. This is what I'm looking for. Plex settings, straight links. If I want straight rather than curvy links in this particular brain. The search is just fantastic for finding the feature or setting that you're looking for and making that modification moving forward. And I can close that and get back to all the different options. I will share with you under user settings for the keyboard, it has its own search. So you can search through all of the different keyboard shortcuts that are available in the brain, modify, set up your own command for that keyboard shortcut that's unique to you for that particular brain. There's a lot of things that were basically missing in 14. Like if I just wanted to set this text into a text box, I can put a tick at the front and the end and drop that into a text box. So really quickly, if you want to get in there and modify some of those sort of the display of your notes, it's much easier to do. And of course, you can still modify keyboard shortcuts to do that as well. And then up above is where we can actually get into the thought properties display. That's right above your note now and your content area where you may have reminders on specific thoughts. In this case, I can change the color actions of this particular thought, development tools, how it appears in the Plex, and up above, add a label, view the history of this particular thought, see who made changes to this thought and when. So that's all easily accessible. I had a webinar a few weeks ago on sort of hidden tips and tricks within the brain. They weren't really hidden, they were there. But I was really surprised that a lot of users didn't know that they were there when we used to right click to open up the thought properties display. Now it's front and center for us to easily access. And as you can see, that display can hide when you move your mouse away and then reappear. And you can just right click to decide if you want to use that setting, if you want the content to always be there when you scroll through the note, or if you want it to scroll along with the note. on a very long note. Those settings are available to you as well. And then, of course, just a couple of last minute things. I hope you'll notice that jumping back over into a brain with a little bit more content now, I hope you'll notice that drag and drop is a lot more efficient in this new build. Actually, I've got a sample. Whoops, let me change my screen around there. I have a sample document, and if I want to make this a child thought of on-site studies, I click and drag, and I can clearly see, depending on where I release my mouse trigger, if this is going to be a child thought, or if it's going to be a jump thought, or a parent thought up above. So we've made that process a little bit easier so you don't accidentally drop a thought into the wrong location. Actually, now that I think about it, on 14, I think when we drag and drop, you could only make it a child thought. Then you'd have to manually move it. You could still do that too, but this makes it a lot easier to decide, where you want your content to be when you drag and drop into the brain. And of course, I have a setting set to automatically navigate to that thought as the native thought as soon as it's created here in the brain. And I think that's all of the features that I wanted to share with you for the time being. Stay tuned. We've got more to come in version 15. Every aspect of the Brain 15 has been well thought out and meticulously rethought to make a better user experience for you, the Brain community. We're happy to hear your feedback. Send a note to support@thebrain.com after you've watched the video and after you've sort of kicked the tires on the Brain 15. Let us know what you think. We think you're going to be really, really happy with the results. 15 is my go-to application now. 14 for me is a thing of the past. So I hope you like it as much as I do, as much as we all do. Thank you for being part of the Brain community and enjoy your digital brain experience. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.